Walker. Welcome as we take a stroll down the Fash Avenue. My guest today is Raj Girn, the founder of Anokhi Media.
Such a pleasure to be here, Joan.
Well, thank you so much for being here. So let's start with, what is Anokhi Media?
So Anokhi Media, Joan, is a multimedia, multi-event company. We started about 15 years ago. And it was really kind of by accident because at that time I used to do kind of some reporting gigs for the then CFMT and Rogers and a few other stations. And they used to always put me kind of into this kind of bucket of doing the quote unquote South Asian story. So I would go out and I would do the story the way I see it and I live it because I am South Asian. But they always wanted to put kind of their own spin on it and looking at it more from a person from the outside as opposed to the person that's living that life, that existence, that culture. And it kind of got on my nerves after a while, to be very honest. I felt that the story wasn't being told in an authentic manner. So I don't know if it was, like divine intervention or I was just like a fool. But then I decided to actually, put out a magazine called Anokhi Magazine. And it was predominantly, about the lifestyle of people who lived outside of India. And it predominantly focused on pop culture, lifestyle and entertainment. And then it kind of grew into this community. And then social media came along and the magazine became a lot more successful online. And then we started doing YouTube video shows and, events and, it was just, I can't even begin to tell you. I mean, the story just goes on and on. It just kept pivoting and becoming something new parallel to the journey of the South Asian community.
And what does the word Anokhi mean?
It's a Hindi word, Joan, and it means unique or different, which is kind of what has been the mission statement and the premise around which the entire kind of community has been built on. We always kind of come back to, okay, how is this different? How is this unique? How are we telling a story in a way that's innovative and creative and allows people to get, a very unique yet authentic perspective on the culture and the community?
Now, you said something that I just love, and I want to make sure I get it right. You said this industry, being media, is the single most powerful platform in existence in terms of affecting change in society. Why do you say that? Because
platforms allow for people to say something, right? They allow for people to say something, have an opinion about something, debate topics. And it also has, on the other side, viewers and listeners, right? People who have the ability and the choice to make their own mind up, right? So I feel there is a very innate, important responsibility. Anyone that has a platform where they can communicate, to actually communicate something that is of relevance and is honest and is sincere and is truly going to help society rather than hinder it. Mm-hmm. I've always been someone that believes in that, and there's so much of the opposite of that on these platforms that I feel that it's important that people always kind of are given the opportunity to decide what they feel is real and honest out there. And I really do give a lot of credit to society, to people, to communities, because I do believe that they're smart enough to be able to tell the difference.
Mm-hmm. So another side of Anokhi Media, I mean, I love that part of it, but the other side is you throw some pretty great parties. How did that come about? These galas are like, people talk about them all year.
Absolutely. We started kind of doing these urban kind of, events. And I feel that the kind of journey, the trajectory of our events have kind of morphed into what they have as as the founder has kind of grown into the woman that I've become. At the time that, we started Anokhi, I was freshly divorced and I hadn't really had the opportunity to kind of live a lot of life. So this was kind of boom. I'm kind of, thrust into this world of opportunity where I get to go out and have fun. And so it was like this whole kind of urban vibe at that time. And this was kind of, really what we used to do. And we used to, throw these kind of jams more than anything else, right? That kind of, then what happened is that, fashion houses and, entertainment, film companies and music releases started to start knocking on our doors. They used to start saying that, listen, you've got this community, we'd like to promote ABCD. So then we started to get sponsorships and we started to curate our event portfolio around the experiences that these these companies wanted to emulate or create and create value for like the consumer, which then gave me kind of these light bulb thoughts that the people that we serve, artists and artisans and people that were in non-conformative careers weren't really getting a lot of opportunities to be recognized, and I felt that an award ceremony was necessary. And so that came about in 2007, which then kind of really morphed into this big gala, and then we started getting a lot of kind of celebrities coming from around the world from our community across pop culture, lifestyle and entertainment.
Of the community as well.
Absolutely.
Who are some of the biggest stars?
So Priyanka Chopra was our guest for the 10th anniversary Anokhi Media event. We have had Jay Sean, a big pop cultural icon from our community as well. We've had fashion designers who have predominantly had their North American premieres with us and Canadian premieres with us, with this Falguni and Shane Peacock. Oh my gosh, Shantanu Nikhil, some like really, really big names. So, our platform became the showcasing of the talent from the community in these industries, as well as, telling people that these can be careers. You don't have to just be a doctor, dentist, lawyer, which is really, what we were pushed into doing when we were growing up. But I understand where that came from, because our parents came from these different, communities into a new country. And the scariest thing is knowing how to look after yourself financially. So obviously, by default of that, their science was that our kids need to have the opportunities we didn't have. Where are the opportunities? They're in the careers that automatically already have a future. So they were never given the opportunity to really go into more the art, the arts-based communities, which is what we really represented, that kind of world, which obviously isn't a cultural language, it is a language of the world. So this is where a lot of the, non-South Asian participation started to come into play. And we, now when we do these events, you get as many non-South Asians as South Asians that participate, because our message and our story and our mindset is
universal.
Global. Absolutely.
So I want to go back, and you touched on it a bit, what our parents bring and our culture brings really affects your life. Now, you had to work long and hard to forge your own path, despite having some paths really kind of set in stone for you. Let's talk about that struggle. And you were married with the encouragement of your parents at 22 years old. And that brought you to a country that you didn't really want to be in, and fast forward so many years, and here you are. Can you talk about that journey?
Wow, Joan, you know me.
I do.
You do.
It's so fascinating, because so many women in particular are struggling to find themselves in general, let alone having to go against their support group and their support network and everything that's expected of them. It's really hard to forge your own path, which you've done repeatedly.
Absolutely, Joan. So it wasn't easy. Mm-hmm. And it really has been it's been a struggle throughout my life. And it really came from the fact that I never wanted to kind of let them down. That's the thing. It's like, I don't want to let my mum and dad down. So, I will marry this stranger. I will be his wife, and then you kind of come here to a country that you don't want to be in, because it was never on your trajectory, right? And parents and family disappear. They go back home to England, and I'm here on my own, and all of a sudden I'm living in a man with a stranger, having to do all those things physically, which for the first 22 years of my life wasn't even allowed to be on my radar. So there was such a juxtaposition of what I felt that I'd been let down by the community and by my family. Because on one side they brought me up and saying, you can never, be in a relationship. And then they put me in a relationship that's supposed to be permanent with a man that I'd never met. So now that really messes with your headspace, and it really did mess with mine, and ultimately did bring about the fall of the marriage. Right? There's no kind of dramatic...
But he's a lovely man. And
there's no dramatic story. There's no dramatic story about our divorce. He is a gentleman. He's always treated me with respect. He just never got how to be with this wacko woman, right? Who came with all this kind of pressure and all these things.
And the arts kept drawing you, even though your family wanted you to go in business and wanted you to study medicine.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I became a registered dental hygienist. helped my then husband for 10 years to build his practice, and I kind of realized what I was good at. I was good at marketing and branding, and all these things started to happen. Then when we got divorced, I needed to be in a career that wasn't connected to him. I needed to be away from that. So then I just happened to stumble across a gentleman at Rogers who says, oh my gosh, you're beautiful. You have this wonderful voice and this pain in your story. I'd like you to come and, learn how to tell stories on television. So that's kind of how the story started, which then went into the frustration that led to me building Anokhi. But to answer your question, Joan, even today, the way that I make the decisions that are right for me are to make those that make me extremely uncomfortable. Because when I'm comfortable, I know I'm not growing. And when I'm uncomfortable, I'm being forced to look at my life. I'm being forced to see if I'm being of value to myself, because without that center core, I can't be valuable to society, and it's in my DNA to serve. So if I can't serve me, I can't serve people. So that will always be a part of what I do.
So if someone asked for your advice, would that be the advice, do something every day that puts you out of your comfort zone?
I believe you should, but I also believe that you should be smart about it as well and not just go over the top. You still need to know how to...
Were you smart about it?
I actually was, Joan. I was smart with knowing that I've got to pay my mortgage. At that time, my son was around 5 years old. So I was forced to be responsible. Now, if I didn't have him, I don't know if we'd be sitting here today having the conversation we have, right? So I kind of feel that divine intervention kind of forces you into the life that you should be leading. Whether you choose to listen to it is another thing. I choose to listen to it. And so there's this perfect balance, I find that we need to understand as humans, and it's not a gender-related thing, but it is to understand when should we keep things in status quo, and when and what should we look at changing. I think that is the journey of life, right? It's a journey of growth.
Now, another quote that I love that you said is, you learned the business of managing personalities, and that's when you were running one of your parents' businesses when you were a young woman.
Yes.
How important is that, and how do you use that skill, and how do people attain that skill?
Absolutely. By listening, number one. I feel that people spend so much time wanting to tell people how they feel about things, is that they forget that the biggest part of the communication is listening to what other people are saying, and more important than that is listening to what they're not saying, right? Mm-hmm. And in spirituality, they say that the lowest form of communication is the spoken word. So I always look for that. I look for things in people that they're not saying, but they're saying really loudly, if you know what I'm saying.
And that's a real skill.
Yeah,
to understand that and to be able to pick up on it. Okay, let's switch gears and let's talk about fashion.
Oh my God, my favorite topic.
So what would you say is your style?
I am very much an animal woman.
I can see.
And it's kind of my avatar. I have this avatar, whenever I feel that, okay, what's the next big thing that I need to do, within myself as a woman or out there in the big wide world. And I don't know how to think in halves. Either I'm not doing it or I'm going all the way. So I feel that I have to bring out kind of my animal spirit. And whenever I do that, I feel that a lot of creativity starts to come out of me. Whenever I want to create a new product or a new brand or help consult with a company that's trying to accomplish that, I don't know, I end up wearing a lot of animals.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just my thing.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So do you feel like you have a work-life balance? That's something that people usually struggle with, but some people just throw it out the window because it really doesn't matter if you love what you're doing. How are you on that level?
Oh my God, I'm awful. I have to admit.
You throw it out the window.
I have to admit that I am I'm an entrepreneur junkie. I'm constantly looking for the next thing that I need to create. So I don't know where that off switch is, to be honest. I've been searching for it all my life. And I don't know, I guess the universe doesn't want me to shut it off. I can be anywhere, but my brain is constantly thinking about what I need to do, what I need to create. I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, to be honest, Joan, but it makes me happy. So I think that the best way for me to answer your question is I feel work-life balance is about what makes you happy, as opposed to the semantics and the logistics around, you know, 50-50.
So it's a different way of thinking about it.
Yeah, I think so.
And what is the next thing that you have to do?
What's
rolling around?
Oh my gosh!
Right now?
So in this part of my life, Joan, I mean, I built 2 brands. You know, I've had, you know, a lot of success. People know who I am, right? So I don't have that desire to be known more, or you know, to build another brand in the same kind of, you know, parallel. I have a real desire at this point in this chapter of my life to serve greater and more globally than I ever have. And I wanted to make it about providing that service that will actually give me the joy and the contentment that I need in this part of my life. And how do I choose to do it? I'm getting ready to launch my my coaching business that's been one-on-one for the last couple of years, digitally and online. That's basically what I'm focused on this year.
Anokhi Media is the largest South Asian media platform in North America.
In North America, it is.
So you're going to go bigger with that as well.
So I mean, Anokhi is kind of at a status quo now, Joan. You know, we're on every platform, live events, you know, online, social, and everything's just going gangbusters. That will never stop. It's, you know, it's a machine all in by itself, and I think it has its own character beyond me now. So, you know, this year for me is about taking all of what I've learned in marketing, PR, branding, and all the kind of hurdles that I've had to, you know, get over in the various industries that I've been involved in. And I want to teach it to people. I want to coach people and help them get to that next level.
Groups?
In groups.
In groups?
In groups online, virtually around the world.
Okay, sign me up. I'm in. Okay, let's talk about some of these awards. 2016, the 14th International Women's Day Achiever Award, the Inspirational Achiever Award, the Global Emerging Leader, like it goes on and on. And a lot of this is because of your career, but also because of your passion for giving back. How do you marry those 2 things?
I think that one can't come without the other. I feel that everything I do, and the first question I ask myself is, but what's the give back here? You know, what's the value proposition here, right? So there's always that component. I mean, we have partnered up with every single charity in the city. We have, you know, helped raise funds for all kinds of organizations over the last 15 years or so. But I feel now I want there to be a lot more mentorship. I feel that needs to be a big give back, and we kind of started that for you know, for the first time with an event called TAPE, T-A-P-E, where we brought a lot of kind of prominent personalities to come and give their time and share how they've grown their brands and answer questions. And we kind of pulled that into our 15th anniversary event by bringing in some big global personalities to do the same thing. Because at the end of the day, it's all fine and dandy having celebrities and taking pictures and seeing all of that. And there's nothing wrong with that, it's fabulous. But I wanted to bring them to task. I wanted them to give my community real value. So, you know, that for me is what 2019 needs to be about with Anokhi, and even about everything else that I do moving forward.
And moving forward, the fact that you'll be doing more coaching and taking all that learning and sharing it with other people. So that's mentorship at its finest. And you know, I could go on and on all day. You're such a fascinating woman. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Joan. It's always a pleasure to sit and chat with you.